bit different, obviously, as you can see. We are taking our bonnie boat and speeding over to Skye, sort of, kind of. Yeah, let's go with that. So I thought, since I have to start writing this book, that would be fun to share, you know, just what the trip to Skye was like. And for me, it started with leaving the Lake District. We were in Ambleside and we drove up from there all the way up to Skye in one day. And so we got there, we left not crazy early, I don't know, 8 o'clock, maybe 9, somewhere in there. And we got up to Skye at about 6 or 7, I think. And that was after, you know, several stops. So it was a long trip, but it was so much fun. Except for bits. It's a big difference, and yet it's not, between the Lake District and then the bulk of Scotland, and then and once you get up and over into Skye, then that's where the bigger difference comes. But you know, just watching the gradual change and the dog shaking cameras, it's pretty cool. So I think the first big impact, and I can't remember, yeah, Loch Lomond came before Glencoe, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look that up. But we stopped at Loch Lomond, and of course, yes, we sang. And guys, I was traveling with Anne and Lori. So if you think I wasn't singing Annie Laurie pretty much the whole trip, you're nuts. But I was especially just going nuts with it in my head all the way to Scotland because Annie Laurie, right? It's such a beautiful song, for one thing. But also, you know, I mean, come on. And considering I'm like almost full-blooded Scot, it was a pretty cool experience for me. But we stopped at Loch Lomond, and you know, it was beautiful. It was just stunning, and it's really strange. Every time I hear the bagpipes, I feel like I'm home, and that's kind of weird because this was the first time I'd ever been out of the United States, much less to Scotland, right? And so it was kind of strange, but I've always felt that way. It's just like there's something about the bagpipes that makes me feel like I'm home. And so here I am at Loch Lomond singing Annie Laurie. And yes, we sang by Jan Bonnie Branks. Yeah, because clearly I'd had a wee drop in Nora. And I was singing that one. I was singing Harry Lauder's Just a Wee Drop in Nora. Just a wee drop, that's all. You know. And yes, I can say it's a broad brick moonlit neck. But it was just this. I mean, like, it's one of those things where I have this series, The Journey of Dreams, where they have this place they've always wanted to be, and then they wake up one day and they're there for good. And there's this tiny little part of me that was like, I almost wish that was real, because this is where God would drop me. And that just was like, but you know, do I not want to go home, see my kids, my family, my mom, you know? Of course I do want to go home. I don't want to, as much as I would love it, I also don't want to be stuck there. So there was that. But then we got to Glencoe, which all my life I have pronounced Glencoe. And that's really stupid when you think clearly about it, because it's a Glen and its name is Coe. The emphasis would be on Coe. It's like, you know, the town of Ridgecrest. You don't say the town of Ridgecrest. You know, you don't do that. So I don't know why, but that's where I had it. And we're standing there, we're looking out over this valley, and it's just stunning, and it's heartbreaking. It's when you're an author or a highly imaginative person, either way, it was almost like I could hear the cries of the people as they're being slaughtered. It was terrible. But really, it was just like you could feel it, you could see it, and I got book ideas like bouncing out of my head. I can't wait to do them, you know. It was awesome. But then I look over and there's a guy standing there in a t-shirt and a kilt. And I looked over at Lori and I'm like, hey, look. He's got pipes. And she looks over, she's like, you think he's going to play it? I'm like, I don't know, I hope so. And she's like, well, he is now. And off she goes to beg him to play his pipes. And it was funny, this place, you couldn't even park in the parking lot there, the car park, because there was no room. There, people lined up on the sides, and his words were, I usually wait until there are more people, but I can start now. And I'm thinking, where are you going to put more people? I know. Okay, I'm assuming that must mean that there was like a bus coming and he was waiting for the bus. This is my guess, but I don't know, right? So he starts playing, and I mean, think about it. You're just standing there, and you're looking out over Glencoe, and there are bagpipes playing, and I thought, this, if I never get to go anywhere else ever, I got to see this part of history that is just so huge, you know. Well, eventually we had to leave there. That was really sad. And we got in the car, and we had been told that you need to get gas on this side. You know, we haven't crossed over yet. So on this side of the bridge to Skye, because it's cheaper. So we stopped at a Gulf station. I hadn't seen a Gulf station in like decades. You know, they became 76 here, and we didn't have any more Gulf stations. But there was a Gulf station, and I go in there, and I'm using the restroom. That's why I went in, and I grabbed a bag of cashews because, I don't go into a convenience store to use the restroom and not buy something. Yes, we were buying gas, but still. And so I went up to the counter and paid. He asked how I was doing, and I said, it's a beautiful day. This is just beautiful country. And he said, you're not from here with that accent. And I'm like, gee, how'd you guess? But I'm looking at this guy, and I'm trying to interact normally, because seriously, this man looked like a short version of my grandpa. He couldn't have looked more like Grandpa Fullerton if you tried. Now, the Fullertons came over from Scotland in 1774. Okay, so I mean, it's remotely, and I do mean crazy remotely, but it is remotely possible that somewhere we have crossing ancestors, because that guy was a short grandpa. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And he's like, so where are you from? And I'm like, well, I'm from California. My friends are from Tennessee. And he's like, what part of California? And I'm like, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm out in the middle of the desert. And he says, oh, so like Bakersfield? Guys, Bakersfield is about 100 miles away, 90 miles, somewhere in there. And it is not desert. It's not. It's the beginning of the fertile valley in the middle of California. But for some reason, he had this idea of Bakersfield being desert. But guys, A, he managed to get 100 miles from me. And B, who on earth outside of California, or at least the United States, has even heard of Bakersfield? I mean, maybe United States because Dwight Yoakam and his ridiculous song with Buck Owens, but I mean, come on. This guy just south of Skye knows where Bakersfield is. He's been there. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So we talked for a minute. All is well. I go out, And I don't know, I'm counting. I'm maybe 10 steps outside the door, and there's a pothole that I didn't see. I was looking over there, and there's a pothole. Down I go. Now, according to Lori, she says she saw me come out and went, oh, there's Shatona. And then I don't show up. She looks up and I'm gone. And she's like, where'd she go? And so she goes around the pumps to find out. And there I am on the ground trying to figure out how I'm going to get up, because I have blood dripping down my face. I have my glasses up like this. I always do. And they had come down and cut my nose. And so I had blood dripping off my nose. Somehow, some way, this blood dripped off my nose, missed my shirt, went down into my shirt. And so but it missed me. And so I'm like trying, I've got some in my eyes. It's just ridiculous. But all I can think of is my right knee is swelling fast. My left ankle is swelling fast. I don't know how I'm going to get up. Guys, I am not a small person. How the heck am I going to get up? I had no idea. And so I'm sitting there just thinking about this, going, okay. And someone thrusts a tissue at me, so I get the blood off of me, and I'm like, okay, where's my glasses? My glasses are tangled in my hair. Gotta get the glasses out. I'm trying to think, out comes Mr. Gas Station Man. Someone had gone in, and he's got a bottle of water for me. So I'm like washing my face off, and I'm taking a drink and trying to think, and they're all talking, and I'm just like, and then they bring me ice. And so I'm like, great. And so because of ice and water, I hand my wallet to Anne, and I'm like, can you go pay for this while I figure out how on earth I'm going to get up? And so she turns to the guy, and she's like, okay, and she wants to pay for it. And he's like, whoosh. And I mean, guys, you read about whoosh in a book. You read it. But I'm not going to say that hearing that in a natural setting was that all this was worth that. Because, no, if I had a choice, I would have just missed hearing that, all right? But if I had to go through this, I'm glad I at least got to hear that, because it's one of those things that you hear, you read in books, but just hearing it naturally, not on a screen, but just someone, it was cool. And I was glad, because Anne made the same comment, and I'm like, it's not just me. And I'm also glad that with I don't want to say the pain, because it hurt moving them, but it didn't hurt just sitting there. But with the pain and the the brain going, I'm glad I even caught it. Okay, but so I don't even know how they got me up. I don't know how I limped over to the car, because remember, I got one ankle out, my knee is out. It looks like I've got balloons sitting on each of them. It's ridiculous. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because, I've got a few days to rest. But based on my history, when I nail an ankle, I'm down for a couple weeks. And so I'm like, how am I going to get through the airport? My brain is doing all this thinking. Well, we went over the bridge to Skye. As we were going over, the Skye boat song, which is an old folk song, I think it's from the early 1800s. I don't think it's late. I think it's early to mid 1800s, which I just discovered recently is like the theme song for Outlander, Dreamlander. I think it's Outlander, Dreamlander's K.M. Wyland. Yeah. So Outlander, I guess it's what they use too, but it's speed bunny boat. So we're playing this as we go over the bridge, and it was just, again, like, it was so beautiful. I'll link the one that we did, that we played on the way over. And then, we get over, and, we get down, it's at the bottom of Skye. Well, we went way up into Skye. We didn't just, get Skye and then we're here. We went way up to Portree, and then north of Portree up to Staffen. And what was really cool, we stayed at Brayside Cottage. My daughter is Braylon, and so that was kind of cool. Nobody gets it. No, it doesn't mean anything to anyone but me, but I thought it was kind of cool. But we went into Portree, and I'm just stuck there. There's nothing I can do. We've got to get food. There's not going to be any food. We had to go to a, grocery store, but we can't because it's too late. So we got dinner, and so I'm sitting in the car at the car park, and I think there was a parking fee. There's some sort of like music festival going on. It's a big thing there. If I can find out something about it, like this year's or something, I'll link it so you can see what it's talking about. But, we're just waiting for food. and they bring food back, and then we still have a ways to drive up to Staffen from there, and it's a beautiful area. It's really funny. I found the business building that I wanted for a book there. I knew what building I was going to appropriate and I was all set. And then when I went doing cover stuff, I actually fell in love with this other look, and so I had to move it to a more kind of iconic, if you will, well-known spot in Portree there on Skye. But we're going out, and you can see the sea out from the little bay, and I mean, it was just, I think it's more of a cove. It's not really a bay, it's a little cove, but it was just stunning. And you go up the hill, and we get to and at this point, by the time we're getting up here, it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Still totally light outside. This is May. Still totally light, bright. All is well. You go up this long drive to the cottage. I mean, for some, it's longer than you would expect. All of the houses on Skye, mostly. There was one, I saw one thatch. There probably is more, but I didn't go very many places. There was one thatch, and I think it's actually an old barn. But most of them, they all look the same. The croft houses that are white with the dark roofs and the longish windows. It was so cool. We get there, and we got into the cottage, and the gal who owns the cottage came down to make sure that we got, it's an Airbnb, and make sure that everything was good for us. And we were right. She found out that I had hurt myself, so she comes back with these crutches, the style that have the arm bands, so that I can hobble around. There wasn't a good leg to put on. I mean, I would have been like hopping with those things because I didn't have a good leg. So at that point, I might as well not use them, right? Because those are going to be totally unsteady. I'm bad enough on regular crutches. Those things, forget it. But, I'm sitting there, and I couldn't, the bedrooms were upstairs. I was not going to go up there. It wasn't, I could have gotten up there, okay? I could have gone up on my backside and then, try to find a way up. But how am I going to raise myself up at that point? I'm going to have to pull onto like the rail. I don't want to do that. It's not designed to bear weight. It's designed to prevent fall. There's a difference. So I just decided to sleep on the couch. It was kind of a short couch, but that also meant that it was easy to put my leg up and over, the arm. And so, I slept on the couch there, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. And it was fun. But from where the couch is, if the couch is here, where this camera is, there's this giant picture window. And if you just look out, you see, the cottages and the croft houses, and you see rolling grassy hills and some sheep, and all is great. But if you just, from the couch, standing, you could totally see it. You didn't have to hardly strain at all. But if you look up and really pay attention, especially if I had my camera, it was super easy. You could even see the ocean out there. It was beautiful. It was stunning. And it was one of those things where I remember sitting there and just going, I'm in Scotland. I'm on Skye. And I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. I can just be. And that was, oh man, guys, I gotta say, that was right there alone. Something in my eye. Eye on Skye? I don't know. But then the next day we got up, and I was like, if I'm going to do anything, I need to do it here on Friday so I can have all Saturday to rest and then all Sunday in the car to rest. It's because I've got to get through airports and stuff on Monday, right? So on Friday we went down to see the little ferry pools. I didn't get out of the car, but I rode. But we drove through, down by another little cove, and it was funny. We were going over they've got these narrow, tiny little roads, and you're going along and a car's coming towards you. Well, the one who just passed a little outlet has to back up into that outlet. Or if there's cars following behind it, the one of them, then the other one would back up until there's an outlet. And you just have to, the turnout, not outlet, turnout. Come on, outlet, yes, let's plug into this one. But you would just back in and you would wait, and the other car would go in, and everybody did it really well. I mean, there weren't really, I don't even remember there being many signs that say make sure you pull, people just did it. But the landscape, and I'm assuming it was heather, but the landscape is just like these little like bumps, like totally covered. So it looked like this bumpy whole landscape, and they're just bushes of some sort, but they're really low and they're really scrubby and they're just low but bumpy. And we kept talking about it being like the moon, you know? And I don't know why we called it the moon, because there's nothing moon-like about it, but it's what it felt like. Some science fiction movie. I swear you could totally make it into a science fiction movie. It was just super cool. And then we're going along this road. All of a sudden there's just sheep walking along beside you, and you're like, well, hello there. Nice to meet you too. You know, lots of lambs everywhere. And there was, I wish I could find it, but one of us got a picture of a sign that said, beware feral goats. And we just cracked up. That, to us, that was hilarious, because, you know, here we would say wild goats. There's something about feral. I know it's the same thing, but there's something about feral here, at least in the desert, that it's like really dangerous. Not just not domesticated, but you want to stay away. You could get rabies. You could die, which is really stupid, because here in the valley, there have been no cases of rabies that weren't brought in from someone getting their animal bit while on a camping trip and coming down. We just haven't had any. And so it's really kind of weird that I would think that way, but we were just cracking up. There's like feral goats, you know? And did I even know that Scotland had wild goats? I did not. Sheep, all the sheepness, but goats, I was just, what? So there was that. And then we got back, and, you know, they were tired, and they were going to go to Dunnigan Castle, which they got, oh, it was stunning. They got gorgeous pictures of this castle with the blue poppies. I mean, blue poppies, right? They did some really cool things. They bought me a few books and things that I'll show you in a minute, but I stayed, and I rested, and I read. I did a lot of reading. Actually, I finished the Truthwater Lake book, and that's when I decided to leave it there. But then, you know, that night, everybody's in bed, and, you know, I've been sleeping on and off, so I'm normally a night person anyway, but on top of this, you know, they've been in bed for the last couple hours, and I look out, and it's still not dark. It's past 10 o'clock. The sun is technically down, but it's still really light out there. And I was just blown away. It was after 11 before it was truly dark. And I was like, this is amazing. I mean, you read about this, and I'm sure people in the northern U.S. or Canada are like, yeah, so what? But, you know, this lower middle to southern U.S. girl has never experienced that. It was after 11 before it was truly dark. And I remember hobbling to the bathroom. The bathroom had this big old window in it that should have been unnerving, because I'm like, why do you have this giant window in there? But A, it's super late, and B, at least the only way anyone who wanted to stand at that window could see anything, they'd have to stand there, and you would have to be removing clothes, because everything else was kind of out of the way of it for the most part, or taking a shower. If you were taking a shower, that would have been like, hello. But I remember, TMI guys, sorry, but I remember sitting on that toilet going, you know, the wind is blowing, and I'm like, it's withering. I know what withering sounds like now. It's different than blowing and moaning and wailing, all the things that wind does. Withering is a very specific sound, and I knew it the minute I heard it. I was like, oh, it's withering. It was just one of those moments, you know, you're just like, this is amazing. So yeah, next day they went off and they saw their things, and I just, again, rested and just enjoyed the day. And they went to the bookstore one of those days. Oh, I don't need the Ambleside Roman Fort. So they got me a few books, because they, you know, this is why I was there, to get all the information for books and whatnot. But they got me Hamish McHaggis and the Skye Surprise. This book will definitely make it into this book that I'm going to talk about in a second. And then, and it's super cute. The illustrations are adorable. I think that's that castle, but don't quote me on that, because I'm not sure. But it kind of shows the different animals. Are they cute? But so they got me that one, and then they didn't get that one for me until the airport. They got me the place names of Skye. So we've got all the place names. We were again at Staffen, but I figured this might be really helpful. But we also were near Portree. And then they got me this book, Skye, the Island and Its Legends. And this will probably get more use in another book I have planned. Ooh, there's pictures. I missed that. You know, I've got plans for more books on Skye, but it will get mentioned at least in this one. I'm pretty sure Milton's going to buy this book because yes, this next book in the Bookstrings, Milton's going to Skye, and then at the airport they found me the Bruins Guide to the Bruins Guide to Family Planning. That was really bad, but I'm going to leave it to make fun of myself. It's hilarious. Having a large family can be wonderful, but when the men folk suggested that it would be good to have another 3 male children in the family so that they could make up 2 of 5-a-side teams, the ladies didn't seem too enamored by the idea. And then it shows. Oh, goodness. And it's like, it's a nightmare when the Bruins get visitors. They don't have enough seats to go around. Sometimes Hen, Joe, and Paw have to put chair covers over themselves so that there are enough seats for everyone. This can cause some embarrassing situations. So yeah, it just lots of fun. I definitely these will be used in this research for this very must-write fast book. So what I'm doing is, you know, Speed Bonnie Boats, right? So the name of the book, the next book in Bookstrings will be Wee Bonnie Books. And Milton is going on vacation to Skye. And when he gets there, the bookstore is flourishing. It's doing great. But it's going to have to be sold because the couple that owns it are that she's done, and the guy is fighting the sale of the store, but it's going to have to happen. If she walks out of this marriage, the store goes, and so it's going to be how Milton kind of gets them through that kind of thing. But so it'll be a little bit inspired by Clock Tower Bound in that Milton's going to feel like maybe it worked with Anne. Maybe he can get these people to work out differences. It's not that they haven't talked. It's that and it's not even that one won't forgive, but that one doesn't see the big deal. And so it's twisted a little bit. But yeah, I have to get started on it because it's time, guys. It's time. I have to have this done like fast. So yeah, that's my inspiration to get going on Skye. And I bought a picture that I'm going to put up here so that you can see the buildings that inspired where I ended up moving my bookstore. It was going to be over by this church and in a place that is actually a restaurant right now. And I was like, yeah, no, I saw this. I like the color. I like the brightness and the cheerfulness. So that's what we're doing. But yeah, you want to get started with me? I mean, why not, right? Let's go. Let's do this thing.